Hey everyone, welcome to the Week 3 episode of Fantasy Factor. I'm Matt Gagnon alongside Mike Legage. We have a new segment today, prepared as promised. We're going to first review our picks from last week and report on our accuracy. No sense in delaying it, so why don't you start us off, Mike?
So to begin this new recap segment, I chose 2 out of the 3 games correctly, not too bad. Predicting the Titans over the Seahawks, which is a great game, by the way. Derrick Henry really carrying the Titans to a come-from-behind overtime victory, 33-30, on the road in Seattle, which is a very tough place to play. Also, I chose the Pats to beat the Jets. Not really that crazy of a pick, but Zach Wilson helped me out a little bit, throwing 4 interceptions. However, a bit of a side note, even with those 4 interceptions, he had a better QBR than Aaron Rodgers in Week 1. So, to quickly touch on the one pick I got incorrect, the Cardinals beat the Vikings on a missed 39-yard field goal by kicker Greg Joseph. Joseph made a 52-yard kick in the game, so maybe the moment was just too big for him to handle. But regardless, 2 out of 3, not too bad at all. So now, Matt, I'll pass it on to you to recap your picks for this week.
Well, Mike, I'm happy to report I also got 2 out of 3 game picks correct. Not the scores, obviously, but the Cardinals did well. So did the Vikings, obviously, like you just said, coming within 1 point of the Cardinals. Arizona's looking fierce to start this season, however. The Patriots also won, thank goodness, which bringing their record to 1-1 as they prepare to play the Saints. I did not guess the Tennessee game correctly, unfortunately. However, I dare say I deserve some credit because I mentioned that Derrick Henry could carry the team on his back, and with over 200 yards, including receiving, and 2 touchdowns, which is about 50 fantasy points for anyone who had him, he led the Titans to a 33-30 win. So that's nothing I can complain about. Now for the start-sit pick. I said that I was going to start Melvin Gordon and sit both Chase Edmonds and Josh Jacobs last week. Melvin Gordon didn't have a huge game, only scoring just under 9 points. Edmonds definitely would have been better, but would have only scored me an extra 3 points overall. Jacobs was out this week, so that doesn't really count, I guess. Mike, what would you rate my start and sit out of 10?
So, Matt, I'm going to have to give you a 3 out of 10 simply because Gordon scored less than Edmonds, who he told our wonderful viewers to sit. See, folks, this year we have accountability. No more blindly giving picks without any consequences. While I'm sure that I will, too, have many bad picks this season, I can say that my pick to start, Deebo Samuel and bench T. Higgins, was okay pick. In PPR scoring, Samuel had 16.1, while Higgins had 16. So whether you listened or didn't listen to me, you probably had a pretty good week.
Mike, I have to say I'd rate yours about a 5 out of 10, just because there wasn't really a loss. It's kind of a win-win for your fans there. Mm-hmm. I would give you a higher score if Higgins hadn't done well, but it was kind of a win-win, like I said. The extra 0.1 was, I guess, a little, maybe a 5.1 would be fine. Yeah, cherry on top. But let's transition to the start-sit of this week. So start for this week is Rob Gronkowski. I've had him on my bench for the past 2 weeks. I feel like a fool because he performed so well the past 2 weeks. I'm not jinxing him right now, but the past 2 weeks have made me think that Gronk might be returning to his former glory days, now that he's finally fully healthy again, it seems, let alone Brady having an amazing season so far. My sit of the week is George Kittle of San Francisco. San Francisco has some receiving options in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and I think that Kittle will also be playing a tough Green Bay defense. I just think that Gronk's going to be doing well this week. Let's hear yours.
Thanks, Matt. My start of the week is football team receiver Terry McLaurin, who's coming off a great performance against the Giants, where he went for 11 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. I only expect his production to increase, especially going forward this season, and see the only real receiving threat that the football team has. Despite going up against a strong Buffalo defense with no real weaknesses, I expect the football team to rely on the passing game to move the football, specifically Scary Terry. So now, onto my sit of the week is the Buccaneers defense. Now, I understand many people probably don't have a backup defense, so for many this is more of perhaps a drop of the week, but I definitely would not recommend dropping the Bucs defense, as they will surely excel against weaker opponents further down the road. So moving on, the Bucs are going up against the Matthew Stafford-led Rams, who have looked pretty good through the first 2 weeks of the season, putting up 27 and 34 points respectively, winning both of those games. And while the Bucs defense recorded 3 interceptions and 2 touchdowns against the Falcons, it is, as I said last week, the Falcons. So with that being said, I expect the Rams to give the Bucs defense a much harder time this week.
Let's transition to some of the pick'em games this week. Our first pick'em of the week is the Bucs versus Rams, a battle of 2 2-0 teams. I have the Bucs taking it in a close one. I agree with you, Mike. I think the Rams will definitely give the Bucs a run for their money, but I think overall the Tampa Bay offense is playing insanely well to start this year. Brady is playing as well as he has his entire career, if not better at times. On top of that, Gronkowski is playing like he's finally healthy, like I said, and adding a couple elite wide receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin certainly can't hurt. The Bucs are starting to look unstoppable, I dare say, and as much as I wish Gronk and Brady were still in the Pats, it's nice to see them doing well. I had the Bucs winning by 2 scores at the end of it all.
So despite my sit of the week being the Bucs defense, I still expect for the Bucs to win this game. Tom Brady, as much as it pains me to say this year, is playing some of the best football of his career. There's no way around it. Through the first 2 games of the season, he has 655 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, which is quite frankly unbelievable for any quarterback, let alone a 44-year-old quarterback going into his 22nd NFL season. In terms of players not named Tom Brady, the Bucs have plenty of other offensive talent, such as Gronk, Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, Ronald Jones, and Leonard Fournette. Usually there would be one more name on that list, Antonio Brown, but he has been ruled out of the game due to COVID-19. Despite Brown's absence, the Bucs have no shortage of offensive weapons, and while the Rams have a top-tier defense led by Aaron Donald, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, and a revamped offense with Matthew Stafford, I expect the Buccaneers to win a back-and-forth affair. 42-31 is my score. So, Matt, I'll pass it on to you to talk about the second game.
The second game on the ballot is the Patriots versus the New Orleans Saints. Both of these teams are 1-1, and the Patriots looked pretty solid on Sunday against, granted, a weak Jets offense. The defense had 4 picks, and the offense certainly capitalized at times. I didn't watch the Saints game, but losing by 19 to the Panthers is tough. New Orleans did awful, too, putting up only 128 total yards against the Panthers, which is unusual to see after a 35-point rout of the Packers in Week 1. Both of the Saints games are making it hard to read New Orleans and predict how their season will go, but they certainly have some talent on their team. So does New England, and I think that the Patriots can beat the Saints on Sunday regardless. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm saying the Patriots win this one by a field goal, and I hope I'm right. Go Pats.
So I'm going to keep this one short, Matt. I believe that by the time this game is over, the Saints will be eating W's. I expect Jameis Winston and his surgically repaired eyes to bounce back from a tough Week 2 loss to the Panthers and recapture that complete dominance they showed Week 1 against the Packers when they won 38-3. However, I don't expect the Patriots to go down without a fight. I expect Mac Jones to keep the Pats in the game until about 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, when he can no longer keep pace with Jameis and the Saints' offensive barrage. I got the Saints winning in Gillette, 38-24. All right, everyone, that's about all we got for the Week 3 edition of Fantasy Factor. Tune in next week for the results of Matt and I's fantasy matchup and our first ad drop segment of the season. Should be a good one, Matt. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Fantasy Factor. I'm Mike, he's Matt, and we'll see you next time.